Okay, here I am. I wanted to make a video about, just to sum up my story, why I built these chambers and my vision for myself and for the future. Many years ago, I started using psychedelics, like in my late teens, and I had some pretty amazing experiences. I think my very first psychedelic was Salvia divinorum, if not mushrooms. But ever since then, I just had I was just pulled in, and I knew this was the worlds that I was going to explore. And over the years, I worked with all kinds of different psychedelics, from DMT, mushrooms, LSD, mescaline, MDMA, and mostly I would work with short-acting stuff like DMT, also 5-MeO DMT, but my main plant that I used was Salvia divinorum, and that's just me. But the requirements and the environment and mindset required to work with salvia, like most psychedelics, but with salvia in particular, it really required a controlled environment. So I'll explain that. With the experiences I was having, salvia is extremely powerful, especially when the extracts are smoked. And I found myself having these incredibly profound experiences, just absolutely mind-blowing experiences that, I talk about in other places plenty. But there were some key things that felt like they were blocking me from being able to go further, and also interrupting my experience and stuff. So one of the main reasons this all started was because when working with salvia, I would lose control of my body. I would disassociate, I would flail around, I might get up and kick around. I wasn't aware of what my body was doing. In the experience, I was having usually a pretty amazing time, but I started to get this fear that I was going to get hurt. So I had this idea, I will build some sort of chamber. I used to just go in my closet or just put pillows around. And I thought, I'll build myself a chamber that I can get in, and then I'll be able to flail around, and I won't worry about getting up and getting hurt or anything like that. One of the other things about having a chamber was I was able to make the inside of the chamber pitch black. And working with salvia in particular, having zero light, not even a speck of light interrupting the trip, makes a huge difference. And so in the chamber, I would have it would be totally light proof, and I would be able to immerse myself in the experience a lot deeper and get lost in the trance a lot easier, because I wasn't seeing walls or ceiling fans or whatever interrupting light. Even when I would sometimes I put a little shade on, but even then, if I started moving around, I might knock it off, and then I'd be it would just be kind of jarring and not very pleasant. Because one of the cool things about salvia is that once the mind lets go and there's nothing to see, these realities, the imagination just builds these structures in hyperspace that I just was able to merge with and traverse through. And not having any light come in at any moment just allowed me to just stay in that and go really deep. Another aspect of having the chamber was, especially as I built chambers, I started to realize that, especially with salvia, sound from the city, from just interrupting sounds, this is generally just city sounds, would come into my trip, and I'd be in a very sensitive state. I'd be very wide open, and then I would feel like a truck just drive by, and I would feel it vibrate, and in the experience, a lot of times I wouldn't know what it was. I would just start to feel like maybe some anxiety, or what was that? What's going on? I just started it would interrupt my trip, and unnecessarily. So eventually I got to a point, I built several of these, And I eventually got to a point where I wanted to make it quieter. And so I started to build the walls thicker, using multiple materials, like plywood, foam, and then more plywood to kind of create like a buffer. And anyway, so blocking sound from coming in is a huge thing, because when you cut out all light, you just hear everything. When you're not seeing anything, your senses start to heighten. You feel more and you hear especially more. So you can hear things in the distance that you normally wouldn't even notice at all. You'd think, oh, I'm in silence, but then you just, wow, I can hear everything that's going on. So being able to block that out is really great for meditation, for especially doing journeys with psychedelics, namely Salvia, because it would just, sound is just, I get very sensitive to sound on Salvia. So those were the very crucial parts for having the experiences and not being interrupted. But another thing that would generally come up, which was really important to me, was when I would have these experiences, a lot of times I would have these emotions and feelings and trapped energy in me. Basically just the need to like cry and scream sometimes, or sometimes I would vocalize or make noise or kick around and not realize I was doing it either. So in the experience, I would maybe vocalize and not know I was doing it, or I would feel the need to cry or yell out just to get something out. And I wouldn't do it because I'd be scared, like, oh, what if the neighbors downstairs hear me, or what if someone outside hears me? Because sometimes I would yell or cry really loud. There's a lot of energy sometimes that needs to be moved. And so I would be really scared that, oh, what if somebody heard that? What if someone hears me? What if they think something bad's happening? They go, I just heard this guy yelling, and he yelled for like a few minutes and then it was quiet, or whatever, Maybe that's just me, but I wouldn't want people hearing me yelling and screaming and crying like a crazy person, because not only maybe that would happen, maybe someone would be concerned, maybe someone would call the police and be like, something bad might be happening in that house, even if that wouldn't happen, in the experience, I'd be afraid that might happen, especially when I'm in a vulnerable state. I might be in a paranoid state. So being able to contain the sound that would come out was just as important, because knowing when I come into my chamber that I'm in a contained space, my body will be safe, there's not going to be any sound or light interrupting me. Even if there are noises outside, I can block the sound out. And then if I need to emote and release, it'll be okay. You could do whatever you want here. Like it's no one's going to hear it, and no one's going to be concerned for whatever might be going on. So knowing that I could be as loud or as weird or whatever, like crazy, when it comes to emoting and grieving, that allowed me to just, parts of me to just relax and know that, okay, it might be scary. I might experience something that may feel overwhelming, may feel intense. I might go into very dark fears or deep grief, or I might just be ecstatically yelling and laughing and stuff, like who knows. But the part of me that was worried about feeling safe, feeling like whatever happens is going to be okay and there's not going to be any sort of consequences to it, that allowed me to go much deeper into my work and into my explorations. So that's the basic gist of it. And in other videos I've described, and I'll describe just other aspects of the chamber and stuff and different ways of using it. But I just wanted to get to like the core of my story and why I started to build these and kind of what goes into them, and the reason why I find it really important to me to have this tool in my house, that at any time I don't need to like figure out other people's schedules. Hey, can you make the house empty for this time? Or worrying about, oh, there's noise outside because it's Friday night and people are making noise out there and now I can't do my trip. Or like the lawn the lawn maintenance guys are here or next door, and now they're making all this noise, and I can't have my experience when I had planned it for this time. So all that, it starts to just, oh, I don't have to worry about any of that stuff anymore. I have this tool that it's just in my bedroom or just in my back room where I can just go in there, and it's a controlled environment for whatever I need, whether it's just a daily meditation or going super deep into a psychedelic state, like a profound psychedelic state as well, like knowing that not only is this safe and a controlled environment, but it becomes like a sacred place for me to really go deep and do some amazing things. And that's like, that's part of why these things are special. They're like these kind of spiritual portals of some kind that, I guess nobody's made them, because I don't see anything online except for the few things that I've made. But I do think that this is the beginning of people using tools like this to go inward and to not just have like a float tank sort of experience, or not just for sensory deprivation in its own like kind of biohack kind of way, but like something to do some like real like frontier, like a new frontier, cutting edge of like the leading edge of humanity. Like, what are we doing? Like, how did we get here? What is the mind? What is the body? What is reality? And what does it want to communicate to us? And for me, it's always communicated the most deeply through psychedelics and these deep altered states that alter reality and allow information that's normally hidden and aspects of myself that have receded into the background but are actually the momentum for my whole life. So this, again, being a tool for us to be able to do that. For me, I want to create a lifestyle where I can be healthy, make a living in a healthy way, in a way that feels good, and have time for my family and have time for myself and to enjoy just being on planet Earth. And one aspect of that for me is having regular access to psychedelic states, regular access to infinity, and normalizing the experience of merging in and out of infinity, merging with the immensity itself, or whatever type of psychedelic or experience that one would want to have. So moving into my vision I have for the future, I think that there's this idea about time machines, that one day we will invent time machines and we'll be able to get into this machine, and then it'll take our body to some other point in space and time, and then we'll arrive there and be like, oh my God, I'm in the past, or I'm in the future, or whatever. And then at that point that a time machine was invented, everybody all around the universe from all times would show up then, because that was the first time machine, or that sort of notion. It's kind of like this it's kind of like an old notion about space-time. But to me, I think that human beings have been merging with and traversing across space and time for thousands of years, using their minds and psychedelics. Like, we're not separate from it. We're fully integrated with it, and there's no separation from it. And then it for me, I found it doesn't actually work the way that I used to think it works, just reality itself. And so the idea is, instead of like a time machine where a body goes in there and then the body moves to another place in space and time, a portal would be a space that I enter into, and then going into a psychedelic trance, I'm able to exit the body, but I don't exit the body. Awareness itself disconnects from the body and is able to, like, reality will phase change and open up infinity, and awareness itself can traverse into basically other dimensions. It could traverse across space and time. So it's not a body that goes across space and time, it's awareness itself. And I think that in my experiences too, I get these visions that's what's trying to be made here, is a portal, and it's a portal for humanity to be able to enter into that next level of reality, this next level of evolution, where we realize that we're not just like monkeys in bodies here to just live and die, but we are awareness plugged into this experience, and awareness itself is really ancient and wise and is connected to everything else and all sorts of realities that at this moment we don't know about, but then when we go into the psychedelic state, it becomes revealed to us. And to me, it's been an adventure of not just a lifetime, but of infinite lifetimes. It's like this I've been on this adventure. We've been on the adventure of life, of reality itself, since forever, and it's just continuing. And for whatever reason, here I'm at this particular place in time, here on Earth, and this is what I'm building apparently. And then and then when I go into these experiences, I kind of get hinted at what's next, and I don't totally know. I can't really tell what's around the next corner, but it seems really big. Because why else would I come here to this place and this body? And then I think, why isn't anybody else making these? Why don't I see that? And it's like, well, I guess it's only 2022, and these weren't invented till now, or in the next few years they'll start to come up, and we'll start to, as humanity, be able to start using this as a tool to like, okay, here we go. Like let's explore. Let's find out what's going on here, and to be able to have a controlled environment that's not just exists, but exists in your house and exists like to integrate into your lifestyle. For me, to be able to integrate this into my lifestyle so that I can regularly do it, or just whenever I can. Like sometimes it's like all of a sudden I'm free. That's just my life. But sometimes I'm free. I'm like, dude, I can do something right now. And I feel inspired to do it. I feel the call, and then here's my chamber to just, all right, here we go. Let's go. Let's see what's next. And I think it's going to awaken all sorts of things. Like we're going to remember what we are. Like every time I go into my experiences, I remember another aspect of what I am, and I'm not as limited as I thought. I'm not what I think I am, and reality itself isn't what I have been kind of convincing myself or kind of entrained myself to believe it is. And I think as we do that, who knows what will happen? Like, who knows what sort of discoveries we'll make? Because the idea that, we're going to be traveling through space in spaceships and just landing on other planets and just like hanging out in spacesuits or whatever, it's like, yeah, okay. But to me, the real frontier is being able to travel through these dimensions and to reveal back to ourselves, to awareness itself, like, remember what you are, remember all this, and being able to fall back and merge with just this greater thing that we've always been a part of. And to have that experience, not just in this life, but to have it regularly. And it's not just some special experience that happens a few times, at least for me. Like, I want this to be a normal thing. Like, I want to normalize this for my life, where I'm regularly going in and out of these states and staying in alignment with myself, what my values, my purpose, with just, I guess, the greater flow, the greater whatever, the greater everything. So yeah, that's my story. I think this feels good to share. I want to make more of these, so stay tuned. And if you look in the description, there's going to be some links to the website where I built this, showing information about it and how to order one. And then my podcast, where my podcast right now is mostly just me kind of sharing and it started off me just talking and sharing after I had experiences so I can kind of integrate. But it's been fun, and I want to keep doing that. And yeah, if you want to reach out, reach out. And yeah, I want to make this bigger. I want to make this grow. All I can really focus on is just, okay, what do I need? What do I want for my life? How does this relate to me? And I'm focused on that, and I want to spread that out more, so I'm actually engaging more with other people and sharing my experiences, and sharing this, like this tool itself, which I don't seem to see anywhere. So we'll see where this goes. All right. Thanks, y'all. See ya.